We've talked about the excitation of photons within our physical bodies, within our cells. We've talked about emitting light in greater and greater volumes and the amplification of that within us and the move through ascension to Homo Luminous. And what if we were becoming walking Tesla coils? I want to share a couple of messages I've received recently with you all. I'll start with a description of the vision that I received that prefaced the channeled message from the Nine. The vision I received was one of a group of initiates and priests walking through a hall. It felt very sacred. It felt as if it was underground. It felt similar to the energy of the Hall of Records, which lies below the Sphinx. Interestingly, what really stood out to me beyond the power of the energy of that space that they showed me and of the humans within that space and their combined energies and frequencies, what stood out was that they were all, wherever they moved throughout the tunnel, or throughout the hall, they were surrounded in this soft golden light. And when I looked around, there were no obvious sources of light within the hall. They weren't carrying torches, they weren't carrying lights, there were no lanterns or candles or torches, open flame, any light source within that hall. And it was made clear to me that these were Lemurian priests and a group of initiates. After I received that vision, then I made note of it and in my journal. And then I had been guided to explore more the idea of this tone that serves as a marker of unification. And this message came through as part of the Divine Union reading that I did recently. My initial thought and feeling around this and my intention was to begin to gather a little bit more information on it, and then I would expand on it in a reading. However, what happened was that I channeled a message from the Nine. In particular, my Polarian guide led the conversation, but the whole group of them were present and added in tidbits along the way. So I'm going to share that message with you now. I'm going to read it, so apologies for looking down, but this is the message. I channeled it on May 1st, and but here we are now. So, and again, initially, this was a question around that tone of creation, and this is how this message unfolded. With my question of, does the tone come from within the human? No, sorry, I bumped the camera. No, the tone is emitted from the coherence of a multitude of wavelengths constantly moving through space-time. I feel like I need to repeat that. Does the tone come from within the human? No, the tone emitted from the coherence of a multitude of wavelengths constantly moving through space-time. When the human's internal frequency elevates to a particular level and their state of balance and unification has been achieved, this frequency communicates with the wavelengths traveling through space-time. They are part of the original tone of creation, these wavelengths traveling through the universe. They are not audible or visible wavelengths. These are on the electromagnetic range. As was mentioned in the Divine Union video, which is the one I'm referencing in where this theme of the tone came through, this tone is a marker. It serves other functions as well. For now, let us look at the marker. This tone is a marker of the internal human frequency moving at a coherent wavelength with these other electromagnetic wavelengths of the original tone of creation. This is evidence of the magnetizing effect of unification within. This coherence builds upon itself as it cascades through humans who are accelerating through ascension. Their physicalities are operating as an amplifier of these frequencies. You are becoming walking Tesla coils, capable of emitting your own light. And now this is where the initial vision comes in. Yes, this is what was shown with the vision of the Lemurian priests and initiates. And yes, this is also associated with the excitation of photons within Homo Luminous. Homo Luminous is not a metaphor or a symbolic terminology. No, this is a state of being. It has been achieved in past civilizations. The Lemurians mastered it, as did individuals who were later designated as ascended masters or saints or gods in human mythology and religion. Yes, this expansion of coherence between members of the collective and the creation tone is responsible for the blackout in Europe recently. Notice the fear dialogue being pushed by many around this incident. We shared with you previously the Great Flash and the Days of Darkness would not occur as had been widely propagated amongst spiritual teachers and the media. And so if we look back and some of the past messages, I'm going to do a little bit of pause on the channeled message here for a second. Look back on some of the past messages that have come through from my team of guides beginning last year, maybe last summer. They started talking about, and it really amplified through the fall, where they started talking about this excitation of photons within the human body. They focused on the importance of the health of the human body, of connecting in and being embodied in our practice to bring these spiritual practices into our physicality, because that is the next stage of it. It is this is again, part of the divine union. This is the unification of self, the unification of the spiritual and the physical. It's super fascinating to me that this is kind of beginning to come full circle now. Well, the reason why they were talking about the excitation of the photons and about the DNA changes that are happening and that are being activated through a lot of the solar activity and other mechanisms that are allowing our cells and our bodies, our physicalities to evolve to the state where we are, this state of beingness, which is Homo Luminous. And as far as the Great Flash, I bumped it again. The Great Flash and the Days of Darkness, there were at least one message, maybe a couple of messages, I don't remember when, but it was sometime within the last year, where they didn't give us a whole lot of specifics, but they did specifically say that it would be very different from what was being described, especially described in coming from a fear-based state and a fear-based energy, about the reasons behind those days of darkness, the reasons behind the Great Flash, the reasons, I want to say that the cause of it as well. So really interesting, again, that we're starting to come kind of full circle with bringing all of this together. So back to the message. Yes, the coherence of wavelengths amplifies the power of those electromagnetic frequencies. Yes, they overwhelm and cause dysfunction with some human technology. Why see this as a sign of trying to be controlled? Why not see this as opportunities for evolution and visionary change in your technologies? The fear dialogue is purposeful. This is why we share this now. What is to gain to keep the collective in fear of the blackouts? And more urgently, do you see the connection between attempting to stop the evolution of humanity? Meaning, do you see the connection between the fear dialogue and attempting to stop the evolution of humanity. Do you see how the fear dialogue could inspire separation and even hostility between those who are not emitting the creation frequency and those who are? Your old structures cannot support the ascended human as they have the 3D human. Allow for the expansion and encourage visionary ideas and design. It is the fear and restriction and fixed beliefs of catastrophic destruction which are leading you towards suffering. So that is the end of the channeled message. Very interestingly, to add another aspect to this, not too long, within a few hours of channeling this message, through social media, I was led to a quote from Nikola Tesla. And I did confirm through a little bit of research that he did in fact say this, because I certainly didn't want to attribute it to him unless that was correct. There's my human wanting to verify. And this is the quote. I am part of a light, and it is the music. The light fills my 6 senses. I see it, hear, feel, smell, touch, and think. Thinking of it means my 6th sense. Particles of light are written note. O bolt of lightning can be an entire sonata. 1,000 balls of lightning is a concert. And interestingly, I think right after that, and I'm not sure why I didn't finish that writing that down, but I think there is a note to something that he has created, and it has something to do with the Himalayas. So we'll save that for another video. But I found this extremely fascinating, and I hope you guys find it helpful. And reminders that when we are seeing these things occur out in our world, that we have the opportunity to approach it from a place of suffering, and we have an opportunity to approach it from a place of evolution. And it's so imperative that we are keenly aware of the energy with which we are interacting with these experiences and these events. And also keenly aware of the dialogue that is being promoted widely. If someone's promoting a dialogue that speaks of attempting to control, that's coming from a place of victimhood. If you can only be controlled if you allow yourself to be controlled, and that begins in your mind. That begins with your energy. That begins with the perspective that you are entering into that space, that conversation, that experience with. So it's amazing to me how much is being revealed, how much is to be revealed, how much is untapped within us still. It's exciting to be on the leading edge of this evolution of humanity and what we are about to experience. The key aspect is to stay aware, to be sovereign, to embody that as fully as you can. And we're all human beings, and we're not meant to ascension is not moving beyond the human. It is an evolution of the human, but we still remain human. And so making sure that you are also allowing for your humanness, and moving through this with a ton of grace for oneself and each other. I hope this was helpful. I'm excited to continue to bring these messages for you guys. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you listening, you watching, you supporting this work and the channel in all the ways that you do. And I'm sending you guys so much love. Thank you for being on this journey with me. I have so much gratitude for you all, and I will be back very soon.